In March 2010, members of a European project called CoSafe gathered in Iceland. They heard scientists voice concerns about renewed seismic activity detected beneath one of the country's glaciers. Within a day, their worst fears were realized. Confirmation of the eruption came from the country's Met Office in a late-night telephone call to the Civil Defence Department.
At that moment, that night, I think we all knew we were in the middle of something big.
Residents and livestock in the vicinity of the volcano had been swiftly moved out of danger. But the plume of ash, billowing thousands of meters into the air, was to turn this unexpected turn of events into a crisis of international proportions.
That this eruption would put a stop to aviation in Europe, none of us had thought that that would be possible.
As scientists tracked the ash cloud across Europe, country after country was forced to ground aircraft. Flights were cancelled, millions of passengers left stranded, and airlines incurred massive losses, estimated at more than £2 billion, nearly €3 billion. While the disruption couldn't be avoided, Iceland's membership of a unique European partnership called CoSafe meant that information on a constantly changing situation could be quickly and effectively exchanged through a network of professionals trying to manage the crisis.
They could send me an email and say, hey, your eruption have stopped my aviation, and can you give me some good information that I can give to my authorities? So this personal contact would help people in the CoSafe project to pass information.
This efficient communication and exchange of data across borders was one of the key outcomes of the CoSafe initiative. Iceland is one of 4 partners in the CoSafe project. The others are Sweden, Finland and Scotland. They've been at the heart of efforts to improve the management of just this kind of emergency in a remote and rural area.
Because we have made good contacts, and it's now very easy for us to call each other and say, you know, can you provide me with this and this information? And I'm absolutely sure we will keep on doing this. And that's part of the international network, which is one of the most important things which comes out of a project like this.
We now have available to us information about how people respond in different countries. We've looked at emergency planning arrangements, we've looked at exercise management arrangements as well, and putting these into effect will, I think, allow people to have a more coordinated and rational response to these major disasters, which can be very unpredictable in their outcomes.
Sparsely populated areas.
But after 3 years, the CoSafe project is coming to an end. And recently, key emergency personnel gathered in Sweden's northern province of Lapland to assess the progress made. This remote, snow-covered environment with temperatures of -30 centigrade was a perfect reminder of the kind of challenge CoSafe has overcome to bring about significant improvements in its ability to respond to major emergencies in Northern Europe's remote regions. It's a process which began with a series of questionnaires about major incident scenarios in Finland, Sweden, Iceland and Scotland. These were based on a bus collision, an air crash and emergencies aboard a ferry. Rescue workers were asked for their views about how these were handled and their answers analysed and verified. It was this feedback that helped to guide the CoSafe mission and enabled the organisation to focus on specific areas of concern. Regular gatherings of CoSafe partners were organised to monitor progress, video conferences were held, and teams communicated regularly via email. Many of the ideas for improving crisis management have come from CoSafe's regular workshops held in partner countries over the course of the project's 3 years. These have helped to create a variety of documents and websites designed to make it simple to share expertise and to improve and coordinate disaster management procedures.
The booklets will live at least 10 years. Also the videos and websites. But the training courses, I think this is the start point for the different kind of training courses. It's very practical information included.
Exercises like this simulated bus crash have also been a vital source of new ideas for improving accident response times in remote areas. CoSafe has designed a new computer program called Guide that can use the internet and web maps to quickly locate key resources and equipment in a specified area surrounding the scene of an accident.
So we can just draw a circle around, just around the place where the disaster has happened and find where are the storage of the equipment that we want to have. And that is a way to shorten the time until it's coming to the scene. This program is available for anyone. It's based on the Google map, so you can go over and use it in Scotland or in Finland or in Iceland, whatever you want.
Training for medical personnel poses particular problems for simulating realistic conditions for treating casualties. And here again, a major exercise was used to test another CoSafe innovation.
If you start up with, for example, a very high heart rate, you have to do something, you have to handle that. Or if the airway isn't open, you have to handle that. After 10 to 15 minutes, in a real situation, vital parameters change. And if you should be able to simulate this in an exercise, you have to have a system where you dynamically changes the vital parameters. And that's what we have done in this system with dynamic injury cards. When we flew to Iceland with the Swedish National Air Medevac, we had on board 12 patients, and from the start we had those dynamic injury cards on everyone, and for every 15 minutes their vital parameters changed. So they had to act accordingly, and they had work for the whole trip back to Sweden. We have seen that this is a tool that works.
For all rescuers in remote areas, extreme weather and difficult terrain are a constant hazard. It's crucial that those responding to emergencies are adequately protected, and CoSafe has pioneered detailed research into the thermal and insulating qualities of the clothing worn by workers in the field. The tests were carried out at a special cold chamber and wind tunnel facility in Finland, where ambient temperatures can be changed from +30 to -40 centigrade. Here, emergency responders were asked to perform a variety of work-intensive tasks and then less strenuous activity.
We can create very extreme conditions in that cold chamber. And we have thermal mannequin in the chamber, and we can also use it as base for some simulated work situation. So they were sweating in one point, then they had to stand like in a traffic control or something. So it was very challenging for them.
By carefully monitoring these tests, important data was collected. This information is now being used by CoSafe in partnership with manufacturers to improve the design of specialist protective clothing to meet the specific and varying conditions of different countries.
Clothing can affect on rescuers' performance, and it affects 3% per clothing kilogram on their work capacity. So it's very important to take care that it's not too heavy. It protects against cold, wind and moisture, so the rescuers can do their work as well as possible.
CoSafe's work has also extended to influencing the development of products and emergency equipment. From ways of maintaining the temperature of intravenous drips in cold climates, to the benefits of specially adapted lightweight stretchers. Detailed studies have been done on the best ways to transport casualties over rough and difficult terrain, on the best tents to use to shelter victims at accident scenes, and on medical equipment to monitor breathing and heart conditions on fully clothed casualties. All this has improved the ability of emergency personnel to respond to and manage disasters, something which has become increasingly important in the remoter areas of Europe's northern periphery. More and more people are discovering the joys of exploring the wilderness. The solitude and potential danger of the environment are the very qualities that attract visitors.
Sweden is a country when 20% of the inhabitants live in the Stockholm area, and in the future probably even more people will move south, and then the big areas in the north of Sweden, for instance, we have a lot of land where very few people live, but tourists come there to be in the snow or to, in summertime, to fish or to walk in the mountains.
Public information videos to make people more aware of the dangers they face is another way CoSafe is contributing to making these areas safer. And by making them safer, the project has helped underpin the confidence of the people who live there, and that helps sustain the viability of Northern Europe's remoter communities, discouraging depopulation and the human drift towards our urban centres.
I think the inhabitants here has, yes, they could expect to have the same safety as they have in the urban areas. I think it should be like that. Otherwise, people is moving away, and they don't want to be in a unsafe area and live there. And that's the same for the tourists coming here, most of them at least. So I think it is it's necessary for the community to take care of the security.
The training of the people who would be responding to disasters in the rural areas is as important as in urban areas, and even more important, because in the rural areas we are facing these things very rarely, much rarer than in the urban areas. So we need to train. We need to train much more regularly.
Which is why the importance of the CoSafe project cannot be underestimated. A multi-million-pound project that's delivered vital improvements to disaster management and whose contribution to safety in Northern Europe's remote areas will live on for years to come.
I think this guarantees the competence of the rescue personnel.
It gives me both the confidence in continuing my work in Iceland, and I also feel that now I have people in other countries that I can just pick up the phone and call them, and I know I have an expert at the other end of the line.
I think CoSafe has achieved things in two particular areas. If you take the broader spectrum, then there's the cooperation and coordination of the people from different countries. And the second part is on the fact that we have produced products and services for the safety of people in isolated and remote areas. Those two things, cooperation and safety, are to be found in the name CoSafe, and that, I think, is the legacy that we would like to leave.